a yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this. The process.
Welcome into The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I'm your host, Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay updated on all of our content. You guys can check out The Process every Tuesday and Thursday right here on our YouTube page. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest episode of The Process is available. On this episode, I wanted to take a look at the Tide's 2021 recruiting efforts when it comes to in-state prospects moving forward in this recruiting cycle. The Tide currently has 3 verbal commitments from in-state prospects. When you look at 4-star linebackers Deontay Lawson and Ian Jackson, they also have a verbal commitment from 3-star defensive tackle Anquan Barnes out of Lee Montgomery. But there are plenty of other in-state prospects the Tide is recruiting in its 2021 recruiting cycle. So I wanted to talk about those guys on this episode of The Process. But before I dive deeper into that, I do have to hit you guys with a couple of recruiting updates. One significant recruiting update was the Tide, one of the Tide's top defensive back targets in this 2021 class, announcing their commitment date. So I wanted to talk about that in the next segment here. So with that being said, let's get the process started. Let's get these recruiting updates rolling with the Tide's 2021 4-star JUCO defensive back target Kyrie Jackson announcing that he will make his commitment public on August 15th. This is the same day that the Tide's 2021 5-star offensive lineman target Amarius Mims will announce his commitment as well. So August 15th is a day for Alabama fans to pay attention to moving forward in this 2021 recruiting cycle, as 2 of the Tide's top targets in this class will announce their commitment. Moving over to the Tide's 2021 4-star defensive end target Mckay Goodwine announcing a new top 5. He included the Tide along with Texas A&M, which were the only 2 teams that were included in his original top 5. So he cut Maryland and some other teams and included Clemson, Kentucky, and Arizona State. The Tide still looks to be heavily involved in his recruitment here, but he does have that new top 5. He wants to take some more visits before he announces a decision. He did tell me that when I last talked to him. So with visits kind of in the air at the moment, is unsure whether his commitment time frame will move up as the recruiting dead period is possibly extended past August 31st. Another top school list the Tide was included in was a top 7 released by 2021 4-star athlete Tasheem Johnson. This is a pretty interesting top 7 when you look at the fact the Tide offered Johnson very recently, actually offered him this month. So it looks as if they are a player in his recruitment, although they just offered him a couple of weeks ago. So that is something to pay attention to. This is a kid who plays defensive back and running back at the high school level. So the Tide could possibly use them at 2 positions or fire him out at either position at the next level. So Tasheem Johnson is a guy that I think the Tide will pick up more momentum for moving forward in this 2021 recruiting cycle here. I actually got a chance to catch up with a couple of guys in the 2022 class. One of those guys was 2022 4-star linebacker TJ Dudley out of Montgomery Catholic High School in Montgomery, Alabama. This is one of the Tide's top in-state targets in the 2022 class. He actually dropped a top 6 recently and included the Tide along with Clemson, Auburn, and a couple of other schools were involved in his top 6. I think that is pretty interesting that he dropped that top 6 and said he dropped it because of the pandemic, because of the uncertainty that is surrounding visits right now. So he dropped that top 6 because he's uncertain if he'll be able to take any visits this upcoming seasons. And with his talks with college coaches, some of the coaches that are recruiting him, they do not know whether or not any visits will happen as well. So with a lot of uncertainty or just surrounding college football recruiting, there's a lot of uncertainty inside of coaches' locker rooms just based off whether or not they will be able to host any recruits this upcoming season. Another 2022 recruit I actually got a chance to catch up with was 5-star wide receiver Caleb Burden out of Texas. This is a kid who's really interested in Alabama. He told me he has a great relationship with the Tide's coaching staff. He said he really loves the coaching staff. You guys can read more about that on touchdownalabama.com. The link will be in the description of this video. It is a subscriber only article, so be sure to pick up that subscription so you can read about Caleb Burden and TJ Dudley as well, and read about the latest in their recruitment when it comes to the Tide, pushing for both of those 2022 prospects. So those are the recruiting updates I wanted to provide you guys with today. Be sure to check out all of our coverage at touchdownalabama.com of Dudley, and also pick up a subscription so you can read all of our coverage on Caleb Burden as well. Like I said earlier in the show, on this episode, I wanted to take a look at the Tide's recruiting efforts when it comes to in-state recruits moving forward in this 2021 cycle. When you look at the Tide's 2021 recruiting efforts involving in-state recruiting, I think the Tide has done a great job so far, adding 3 in-state prospects to the 2021 class in Deontay Lawson, Ian Jackson, and also Anquin Barnes. But they also want to make sure they are in a great position to continue to bring in homegrown talent, kids that are from the state, kids who know what it means to put on that crimson and white and beat Auburn and Iron Bowl, beat Tennessee, knows what it means to the state to play football at the University of Alabama. So they want to make sure they continue to bring in some homegrown talent, kids that really know what it means to play for the state and play for the university as well. And they have an opportunity to add a couple of more guys in this 2021 class from the state. When you look at Mckay, of course, is a guy a lot of Tide fans like to talk about when it comes to in-state prospects in this 2021 class here. Of course, Mckay has the top 3, which includes the Tide, Auburn, and LSU. He always says he wants to announce his commitment whenever the moment feels right. In my opinion, I think he wants to take some more visits before he announces a decision, possibly visit all 3 of those schools before he makes a decision. I think his decision is the next move for him. I don't think he's going to cut the top 3 down to a top 2 or anything. I think he's going to release a commitment when it comes to the next step in his recruitment, and it's going to be either Auburn, LSU, and Alabama. Of course, this kid will be a great pickup. You're getting an all-around athlete, a kid who can really make an immediate impact at that cornerback position with this athleticism and with this ball skills. So Mckay is a guy who could add that homegrown talent, one of the most pure athletes to come out of the state in quite some time. Moving over to Keenan III, this is a kid who knows what it means to play for the university as well, but he also knows what it means to play for the university at the defensive tackle position and come from the Birmingham area. This is a kid who has a great relationship with former Alabama defensive tackles and Birmingham products. When you look at Deron Payne and Quentin Williams, he has a great relationship with both of those guys. He really takes it to heart, coming from the Birmingham area and going on to play great football at the college level and moving on to the NFL one day. I'm pretty sure that is part of his plans in the future, part of his future plans, and he knows that the University of Alabama can get him there. This is a school that has hosted Keenan multiple times in the past, more than any other school. The Tide has hosted him more than any other school that will recruit him in this 2021 recruiting class. Of course, he is a 4-star defensive tackle, a kid with a lot of potential, a kid who has a wide range of moves in his repertoire when it comes to rushing from the defensive tackle spot. So this will be another huge pickup for the Tide in this 2021 class. Another defensive tackle product from Birmingham. He is expected to release a top 10 soon. I think the Tide will be included in that. Keenan's teammate Jeremiah Williams also holds an offer from Alabama. This is a kid who received that offer on January 31st. He was actually able to get onto the campus the following day for the Tide's Junior Day event on February 1st, and he got a chance to interact with the Tide's coaching staff. Of course, they have had a relationship before for a long time now. Before they offered him, they already had an established relationship. So I think that bodes well for the Tide when it comes to their recruiting of him. Of course, he is still being recruited by other SEC schools, including in-state school Auburn, and also the Florida Gators are also still involved in his recruitment as well. Another guy who can bring that homegrown talent and that homegrown feel to Alabama's roster. Lee Hunter, a four-star defensive tackle out of Blunt High School in 8 Mile, Alabama, is another Tide target that is inside the state. This is a kid who's actually committed to the Auburn Tigers at this very moment, but he has shown that he's interested in staying home and playing inside the state, keeping his recruitment open, of course, being verbally committed to the Tigers at this point. But as he always says, his recruitment is 100% open. The Tide is still considering him along with a host of other defensive tackles, looking at Keenan III, of course, also Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, who included the Tide in his top school list recently. Also looking at Mason Smith, a guy who has the Tide in his top 8, a 5-star defensive tackle out of Louisiana. So Lee Hunter is in that group. Of Auburn commit at this moment, but he is an in-state prospect. Ambassador out of American Christian Academy in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, is really familiar with what Alabama football means to the university, means to the state, and means to the city of Tuscaloosa, as well as he plays his high school football inside the city of Tuscaloosa. He has a great relationship with the Tides coaching staff, including Charles Kelly. Also has a great relationship with the Tides defensive coordinator, Pete Golding. He told me he has a great relationship with both of those guys. They talk a lot. This is a guy who the Tide has been recruiting for quite some time. They hosted him during their Junior Day event on February 1st. They hosted him during the football season as well. So Kamari Lassiter is a guy to pay attention to here. Underrated defensive back in his 2021 class. A very aggressive kid. A kid who's not afraid to go after the football. The athlete who plays on both sides of the football for American Christian Academy. So I think this would be a unique pickup for the Tide as well in this 2021 class. You're getting an aggressive defensive back who's not afraid to put his nose in the fire and not afraid to get physical. The last guy I am going to talk about here is Joseph Mckay, a 3-star running back out of Central Phoenix City High School in Phoenix City, Alabama. You may not hear too much about Joseph Mckay, but he is a guy who has an offer from the Tide. The Tide's coaching staff is in contact with them. I got a chance to catch up with them last month at the Elite underclassmen camp in Georgia. He told me that the Tide's safety coach Charles Kelly was in contact with them the most of anybody from the Tide's coaching staff. You guys can read about what he said, some other things he said about the Tide's recruiting efforts when it comes to recruiting him in the description of this video, as I will drop the link to the article in the description of the video here, as Joseph Mckay is definitely a guy to pay attention to. That article is a subscriber only article. Be sure to pick up your subscription to touchdownalabama.com as we continue to work and continue to try to stay focused through this pandemic. We depend on the support of you guys, the fans, to help us continue to provide you guys with the best Alabama football news in recruiting coverage. So be sure to pick up that subscription from touchdownalabama.com for $5.95 a month. You get a chance to read all of my subscriber only articles when it comes to the Tides recruiting efforts. Also get your hands on our yearly print magazine issue. Also read all of our subscriber only articles, no matter whether it is recruiting or anything Alabama football related. So be sure to pick up that subscription. We'll love to have you guys involved in a part of our family and a part of our community at touchdownalabama.com. That would do it for this episode of The Process. Be sure to hit that subscribe button before you leave to stay updated on all of our content. Then head over to touchdownalabama.com. Pick up a subscription. With that subscription, you'll be able to read all of our subscriber only articles. Also, get your hands on our yearly print magazine issue. Read all of our scouting reports when it comes to each of the Tides commits in each recruiting class. Also, read our in-depth draft projection for Alabama players that are currently draft eligible. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and pick up that subscription as well. Then head over to your app store whether that is the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Be sure to download the Touchdown Alabama app. With that app, you'll be able to get notifications sent right to your mobile device. So be sure to do all of that. As always, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine.